But our lead story tonight is that crucial meeting of the Prime Minister with Russia's Foreign Minister. This is the highest ranking Russian official to visit India since Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And what's really crucial is the statement that has come out after that meeting. He, of course, met with the Foreign Minister earlier today as well, an important press conference. But let's just analyze, Vishnu, that press statement.
Well, from lauding Indian foreign policy to discussing whether India should play a role as mediator in the Russia-Ukraine conflict, Russia's Foreign Minister Sergey Lavrov, who was in India, has made it absolutely clear that India is a time-tested ally to whom it's willing to sell any high-tech item. Remember, high-tech defense is the cornerstone of the relationship between both sides. Now, Mr. Lavrov, who met Prime Minister Modi, and you can see these pictures here, after a personal request, was clearly accorded very special treatment. Remember, China's foreign minister, the British foreign secretary, in other words, their foreign minister, the Mexican foreign minister, among others, were all here recently. They did not meet the Prime Minister. Significantly, in a statement, the Prime Minister has said, the Prime Minister reiterates his call for an early cessation of violence and has conveyed India's readiness to contribute in any way to the peace effort. So does that potentially mean that India is willing to mediate in the crisis? In fact, we'll talk about that in a few moments. So let's break up the key details of the visit of Mr. Lavrov into three key parts. How Russia sees India as a partner on economic ties between the two countries, and on the war in Ukraine, which Russia calls a special military operation. Now, Mr. Lavrov has said that Indian foreign policy is characterized by independence and legitimate national interests. He said that he cannot imagine India taking a stance because it was under pressure from the West.
I have no doubt that a way would be out to bypass the artificial impediments which illegal unilateral sanctions by the West created. This relates also to the area of military technical cooperation. As regards, I mentioned about oil supplies and supplies of high technology. If India wants to buy anything from us, we are ready to discuss and to reach mutually acceptable forms of cooperation.
Interestingly, Mr. Lavrov didn't rule out a role for India as a mediator in the conflict with Ukraine. Now, 2 days ago, in an interview to NDTV, Ukraine's Foreign Minister Dmytro Kuleba welcomed a role for Mr. Modi. Today, Mr. Lavrov, the Russian minister, said that India is a serious country. It can support a peace process, a responsibility which, he says, has been ignored by the West.
India is an important and serious country, and it is not. And if India sees to play that role, which provides resolution of the problem, then problem in this present condition, India as our common partner. We are for the security guarantee being offered by Ukraine. When West has ignored its responsibilities, and if India is with its position of just and rational and a rational approach towards international problems, then it can support such process.
On the war itself, Mr. Lavrov said Russia could not accept Ukraine being militarily propped up by the West. Russia's goal was to reduce, he said, Kiev's military capacity, and that Russia is not targeting civilians, only military facilities. That really begs the question, how have cities like Mariupol been destroyed? But on high-tech transfers to India, Mr. Lavrov said Russia is willing to export all items to India, and that both governments were working out a system through which rupee-ruble dealings were being strengthened. Now, this is because bank transfers have been impacted because of the sanctions, something Mr. Lavrov referred to as an artificial impediment.
Well, as regards using ruble and rupee in our financial trade dealings, I would recall that many years ago we started moving in our relations with India, with China, and with many other countries from using dollar and euros to more and more use of national currencies. Under these circumstances, this trend, I believe, will be intensified, which is natural and obvious. We will be ready to supply to India any goods which India wants to buy.
Now, India, for its part, emphasized the importance of a cessation of violence and ending hostilities in Ukraine. This was made mention of by the Foreign Minister earlier in the day in his statement. The MEA said, the External Affairs Ministry, differences and disputes should be resolved through dialogue and diplomacy and by respect for international law, the UN Charter, sovereignty and territorial integrity of states. Now, the visit of the Russian Foreign Minister comes at a time when New Delhi is under intense pressure from the West to speak out against Russia, something New Delhi has refused to do. Consider this, the number of high-level visits over just the last 2 days and phone calls from senior leaders truly unprecedented. On the 31st of March, that's yesterday, the British Foreign Secretary, in other words, the British Foreign Minister, Liz Truss, their Foreign Minister, she was here. As was Dalip Singh, the US Deputy National Security Advisor, the man behind the Russia sanctions, who said, don't expect Russia to back India the next time China makes incursions. The Foreign Policy Advisor to the Netherlands, Prime Minister, was also here. There was a call between Foreign Secretary Jaishankar and the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken. The German Security and Foreign Policy Advisor was here as well. All of this in just the last 48 hours. So India making it clear that despite this Western pressure, no Western pressure, we will work to protect our own interests.
Come back to that Prime Minister's meeting with the Russian Foreign Minister, because in fact that meeting was only confirmed later in the evening, so it's very important that Prime Minister Modi met him, and also the words that have come out in that press release. One, that India calling for an immediate cessation of violence, and we are saying that to the Russian Foreign Minister. So again, India's role there is wanting peace and saying that we're ready to help in peace efforts in any way. So India, in fact, coming forward at a time when, as you said, that world exclusive, the Ukraine Foreign Minister saying India has a unique position to mediate peace.
They're saying the same thing, Sonia. How rare is that? And in fact, India is offering to be a part of the process of assisting. The Prime Minister's statement says that India is willing to assist in any way, number one. India willing to assist in the process of peace. The Ukrainian Foreign Minister saying that he'd like India to mediate. The Russian Foreign Minister today said, and he explained his answer, but he said that if India can make a positive role, then why not? So these things are all coming together. Now, whether eventually that does take place or not is a separate issue. But clearly, India potentially could have a serious role, a role thus far played by the French President, by the Turkish leader, Mr. Erdogan, and the Israeli Prime Minister as well.
Yes, and of course, Indra, as the global impact being felt on India, especially in terms of oil and fuel prices, and India coming forward diplomatically also, how that would strengthen our position with India standing strong. The situation in Sri Lanka, where there's now an indefinite curfew in Colombo, as people here are out on the streets. The President's house under siege at midnight. NDTV, the only Indian channel there, bringing you what's happening in our neighbors. It directly impacts so many million people of Indian origin, also Tamilians there in Sri Lanka, Sri Lankan Tamils, and refugees who are fleeing to Tamil Nadu as well. So Colombo tonight, last night under siege. Today more scenes expected of people out on the roads, but there have been 45 arrests, where the President's house is saying the people who came and asked, actually said enough is enough at his house, are terrorists.
NDTV is here reporting from the epicenter of the Sri Lankan crisis. Burning off the bus, the police bus. Now that is the particular stretch of road. Record it, record it! Don't cut it!
Someone came and attacking me.
People have tried to push through the barricades. Protesters clash with police. A bus torched.
මම රෝගියෙක්. මගේ බෙහෙත් තියෙනවා ඉස්පෙට්ටියේ. ඒකේ කූල් එකේ තියෙන්න ඕනේ. ඉතින් ඒව සැර බාල වෙන්නත් පුළුවන් මොනවා වෙයිද දන්නේ නැහැ. ඒකක් ඉතින් ඊයේ රැන හුඟා දුක් විඳ. මේ අපේ පුංචි ගෙවල්නේ රස්නේ මදුරු. ඉතින් ඕක කරදරේ තමයි තියෙන්නේ.
From this morning, a string of visitors at the President's residence. From Member of the Parliament, Johnston Fernando, Tourism Minister Prasanna Ranatunga, and Namal Rajapaksa, Youth and Sports Minister and son of Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa. One of the triggers, queues like these waiting for hours for diesel, which has run out, and ordering the shutdown of streetlights by the minister. Buses have ground to a halt, piled up at bus stands like these.
3 மணித்தியாலமாக வெயிட் பண்ணிக்கொண்டிருக்கோம். பஸ்ஸுகள் சில டீசல் பிரச்சனைகள் இருக்குது, போக்குவரத்து பிரச்சனைகள் இருக்குது. டீசல் தான் முக்கியத்துவம் கொடுத்தா முதல் டீசல் தான் பிரச்சனை. அப்போ அதில் டேர்ன்கள் மாறுபட்ட டேர்னாக இருக்கும்.
Bus owners say the government says the fuel is coming in 24 hours, but they're skeptical.
We are yesterday running 15% buses, altogether 20,000 buses in Sri Lanka. We have today altogether 20,000 buses altogether in Sri Lanka. We have to run. We are today running 10%. We can't believe the tomorrow. We have to stop the buses. We can't run the buses because we don't have the fuel. I talked with my minister yesterday. He told me yesterday Indian credit line, it will be coming 5th of April.
But the government has attempted to demonize the protesters, arresting 45 of them. Police spokesperson, 45 people arrested, 44 men and 1 woman, and 5 police officers injured, including an ASP, and being treated at hospitals following the protest in Mirihana, Nugegodu last night.
The situation in Sri Lanka is very grim. In fact, the country has run out of diesel and there is very short supply of petrol as well. What we are hearing from the sources is that 2 shipments that were supposed to arrive here in Sri Lanka, that has not gone as planned. And so people also tell us that they have lost their hopes on the government. In fact, the city has also, Columbus city has also plunged into darkness. We understand that the government has decided to, has ordered in fact, the shutdown of all the street lights. Now that's what we are looking at this moment, and this being also the retaliation coming in from the angry mob and the protesters, and that's exactly how we understand on ground they have been retaliating by protesting right outside President Gotabaya. In fact, Rajapaksa is concerned. In Colombo with camera person Govind Murthy, Srija for NDTV.
We'll keep bringing you the latest breaking news from there, but let's just go across to what's happening in politics back home. And the BJP has crossed a milestone, becoming the first party since 1990 to touch the 100 mark in the Rajya Sabha. This will be officially notified soon because it comes after the 3 wins for the BJP in the 3 northeastern states yesterday. The controversial one, of course, is the one in Assam, where the BJP, especially the Chief Minister Himanta Biswa Sarma, managed to get a Congress MLA to waste his vote. Mr. Sarma said that many more Congress MLAs had voted for the BJP.
As far as the BJP is concerned, this is a big 100 for the party, the first party to touch 100 MPs in the Rajya Sabha since 1990. And this has happened, by the way, an official notification from the Rajya Sabha is yet to happen in this case. But this has happened because of the 3 wins, 1 each in Assam, Tripura and Nagaland. Rajya Sabha elections, remember, were held recently in 13 seats, and the BJP managed to reach this 100 mark. Now, just to tell you how the BJP has completed this journey, the BJP was 55 in 2014, now they are 100. So you can imagine how they have grown incrementally. The party is inching towards a simple majority in the upper house. Remember, the Rajya Sabha has 245 members and the halfway mark is 123. In 1990, if you recall, the Congress had 108 members, and the BJP hopes that they'll be able to breach the 120 mark also, because polls are expected on 52 more seats in the Rajya Sabha in the states of Andhra Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Maharashtra, Rajasthan, Jharkhand, and also the recently won Uttar Pradesh.
Meanwhile, moving to other news, in Karnataka, reports coming in of hate attacks over the pretext of halal meat. This has suddenly become controversy in the state. Remember, elections are due here soon. So look at this. You see alleged Bajrang Dal activists just barging into a restaurant, asking why halal meat is being served, into a butcher shop, assaulting them. 5 people have been arrested by the state police. But this controversy has come out of nowhere and become a huge issue there. The Chief Minister has appealed for peace, but we can see what's happening there on the ground.
Arrest हो गए तो arrest life खत्म तुम्हारा विचार पकड़ा छे विचार कळागे ಏನಣ್ಣ ಒಬ್ಬ ಹಿಂದೂ ಆಗಿ ಹಲಾಲ್ ಅಷ್ಟು ಚೆನ್ನಾಗಿ.
So as that's going on, today also activity picking up as both the Home Minister Amit Shah and Congress leader Rahul Gandhi are in Karnataka. The Home Minister today visited the Siddhaganga Mutt, where celebrations are on to mark the birth anniversary of its revered seer. Rahul Gandhi was here yesterday. But of course, remember, elections also coming up in the state, so you're going to see lots more national leaders making Karnataka their base for frequent visits.
ये जो संदेश था शिव कुमार स्वामी जी का, अन्न लगभग 80 करोड़ लोगों को 2 साल तक फ्री ऑफ कॉस्ट अनाज दिया, खाना दिया। अक्सर हर बच्चे को अपनी मातृभाषा में पढ़ने का अधिकार दिया और आश्रय 3 करोड़ गरीबों को रहने का घर देने का काम भारतीय जनता पार्टी की नरेंद्र मोदी सरकार ने किया है। डॉक्टर शिव कुमार जी के तीनों आदर्शों को मोदी जी ने भी जमीन पर उतारा है।
Meanwhile, Congress leader Rahul Gandhi also in Karnataka, he visited the Mutt celebrations yesterday, and today he spoke to the party's workers, setting them a target, saying its mission 150 seats is the target he set for the Congress in Karnataka. This, of course, coming after a series of losses for the Congress in the recent assembly elections.
Karnataka has always had the spirit of the Congress party. This is a natural Congress state. Number one, we should not fight an election to make it a close election. We should fight the election to make it a decisive victory for the Congress party. Minimum seats 150, not one less than that. Number two, we should make our decisions based on merit. And number three, we should reward those who have worked effectively, who have fought, defended the issues and fought loyally for the Congress party.
Well, a quick look at the other news. Markets began the new financial year with their highest since last February. Since February this year, markets gained over 1%, gaining 700 points, ending at 59,276. The Nifty up by 205 points. And as we end, well, there's a special Maharashtra New Year gift for Mumbaikars who are stuck in harrowing traffic or commuting in crowded trains. 2 new metro lines will begin from tomorrow. NDTV had a ride the day before.